You're listening to ProdCast, the personal productivity podcast from CRM Audio. This episode is brought to you by Maplytics by Analogic. Maplytics by Analogic is a leading certified for Microsoft Dynamics 365 geoanalytical mapping app. Maplytics empowers users with powerful map visualization and routing capabilities within Dynamics CRM to drive better sales, improve business processes, and engage the right customers at the right time. Analogic is a leading Microsoft Gold Dynamics CRM ISV, delivering best-in-class Dynamics 365 solutions, as well as cost-effective and high-quality programming services. We thank Analogic for sponsoring ProdCast, the personal productivity podcast from CRM Audio. So, you had something fairly big happen in your life lately. What was that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're making a reference to the new bundle of joy that joined the Anderson household, Henry, who I just put down for a nap a few minutes ago.
All right, well, great. So Henry, how old is Henry now?
Henry is 2 weeks as of this recording.
Wow.
Yeah, so very, very new little guy, and all things considered, I'm really pleased with how things are going. I'd love to get a little more overnight sleep. That's for sure.
So you're still on parental leave?
Absolutely. I'm in a very fortunate position regarding parental leave. We get an extended period of time for parental bonding leave beyond just the typical, what you can do through family medical leave. So I have a quite extended period of time.
And do you have to do all that up front, or can you spread it out?
So it's set where I can do it in a couple of chunks. So you can do it all at once, or you can do it in two different parts. I'm choosing to do it in two different parts, so I can make it to some training. There's a kickoff that happens for the year that I want to get to and get some of the training that I can do there, and then I'll go back on leave, kind of use that summer time, which is typically slow Microsoft Q1, to kind of get through that and hit the ground running after that with the family in a good spot.
So other than trying to get some sleep between feedings, how are you staying productive?
So it's a fair question, Joel. There are definitely some things that are a little bit different from a productivity standpoint with this. We've referenced some of this before, but I've really come to appreciate what I can do with really small chunks of time, and having that list at the ready of things that I can do, specifically of how I can keep kind of the house in order. I'm wearing a lot of hats right now with my wife, who is recovering from giving birth, and we're in those first couple of weeks back here, and there are a lot of things that we share the responsibility for, and I'm picking up a lot of those. And unfortunately, what that means is I'm spread a little bit thinner between each of those tasks. And what I've been doing is making sure that as I find, call it even 5 minutes that I have, I'll just kind of start to work on cleaning up the kitchen, or getting our older daughter's toys picked up, or that kind of stuff. Because if I found that in that first, call it, few days, things got really out of hand, and if as I wasn't taking advantage of those little opportunities, things turned into a much bigger mess.
Yeah, you gotta get those things before they get out of hand, or chaos ensues.
Yeah. And I also have, because I do have a more extended period of time off, I find myself trying to build out a flexible routine. So obviously there are the must-dos of just keeping everybody fed and bathed and clothed, and the bare essentials. But also the can-dos that are going to fit into the week. So they're the weekly must or the daily can, making sure we get kind of just things taken care of. We have a rental property as an example there, where usually my wife takes the brunt of the work on that. We've got our biannual city inspection coming up for that, so there are a few things we're taking care of to make sure that they're in place. That now falls on my lap, and trying to dictate which day those types of things are falling into is a little bit tougher with the kind of randomness of dealing with a newborn. But baking that into the week, and again taking advantage of some of the smaller chunks of time to get over there to work on things, to make the call to a tradesperson to help out, those things, and just finding those little opportunities have been really important here.
Excuse me. How about your shrubbery goal, your landscaping goal? Have you set that aside with the birth of the child, or have you been able to find time in your schedule to still check on the shrubbery?
So I have been able to find time, and here's what's been the real upshot there is my daughter, who's only 2, has really taken to the garden. She likes getting out and helping. She knows how to use the watering can and kind of follow me around as I'm tending to things here. So as I'm weeding, trying to get things into shape, and there's still a lot of progress that I want to make, I am finding time, and it's not even that I'm having to drive myself to do it. She'll say, "Garden, time to garden." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sounds great." good excuse to get out there, get some fresh air, and also keep up that part of it too.
Is shaving your schedule?
Funny you should say that. My Father's Day gift here, I asked for an electric razor. I've been I had an electric razor long ago, but I picked that back up so I can fit it in more situations. I was that guy like sitting at a stoplight and shaving. Not 2 weeks ago.
Interesting you mentioned that, because it seems like everybody I know is all in the Dollar Shave Club and whatever. And I, about a year ago, got an electric razor, and it's been great. I'm in the No Dollar Shave Club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know what you're using, but I've got the Brown 7000 series.
I'm not sure. Target Special was what I used.
There you go. I did some online research, and this was pretty much the touted as the best that you can get value wise and quality wise. So
nice.
It was a nice little Father's Day gift.
What I've been doing recently, kind of a recurring theme, is still trying to organize my OneNote notebooks. Mm-hmm. And the challenge is you can't easily find all your notebooks. You can't search for .one or whatever. Mm-hmm. I figured out if somebody shares one with me, I can find it, because it kind of wraps it up with the ONE extension. But as far as the ones that I create in my OneDrive, I can't find them. It puts them all in a folder. Each document goes into a folder. And so the best thing I've found is open the OneNote up, and then go to the open menu again, and where you see the recently viewed items, there you can right click on it and find the location from which you can either delete it. So what I've been doing is I've consolidated down to about 4 main notebooks. I used to create one for every client I had. That soon became very unruly, and I would forget where that notebook was, and I'd create a new one. So I've been kind of consolidating the important notes together. I have one personal one where I have different tabs. That's what I'm going to try and go with, that I think will make OneNote a little bit less intimidating for me, just because it's just been sprawl and mess and a note here, note there. And so that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, so the first, kind of the genesis of that comment there is an interesting one to me, because I've definitely run into that before, where there's no good way to search for all of your OneNote notebooks that are stored on OneDrive. I mean, obviously, if you have a local file that you're working with, you can search locally for it. But that's definitely a challenge. I know that for me, sometimes to find some of those notebooks, if I don't know where they physically are, I will, additionally just use Delve, the search service within Office 365, to help me find some content that I know is within a notebook. I will oftentimes, keep meeting notes, kind of use the Outlook integration to push, or rather Exchange integration to push meeting attendees and information into a OneNote page. And when I do that with that much regularity, it makes it easier to go and search for that later if I know, oh yeah, I had a meeting with such and so, or if I just look for my own name inside of those meetings, I can effectively get back a search result with all of the notebooks where I've taken meeting notes in, which ends up being pretty much all of them.
Right.
So maybe not the most efficient, but certainly if you're in the situation where you've got a bunch of notebooks and you're trying to find them again later and you don't have it in your kind of recent notebooks to be able to go find, it's another method.
Yeah, that's true. That works if it's in OneDrive for Business. I have the problem that some of mine are in OneDrive Personal and some are in OneDrive for Business.
Ah, yes.
And so, that's where it's... And I found I still have notebooks from the CRMUG Summit 2012.
Oh, get those notes back out.
Yeah, I'm referring to them religiously.
When you go back to re-record episode 1 of CRM audio, you can dust those off, huh?
Yeah, that session I led on exporting to Excel was really a winner. So then another interesting thing I've been using, have you seen the timeline view in Google Maps?
Yes, buddy.
Isn't that awesome and equally parts scary?
Well, I mean, I was going to say awesome and equally parts sad for me.
Well, if you go to google.com/maps/timeline, and if you use Google Maps, if you're somebody out there who doesn't use Google Maps, this doesn't apply to you. But if you use Google Maps, it will show you where you've been on every day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and if you zoom way in, you can even see how you got there, what route you took for those every day, right. Which is part of where the sad comes in.
Yeah, it's kind of you go to the office, same line going back and forth day after day after day sometimes. But here's where it's useful is our family has a doctor's office that I sometimes have trouble remembering the address for. Mm-hmm. And so I remember, hey, we were there sometime last month, so then I figure out what day and I can see where it was and figure out where it is. That kind of thing, or remembering where I was, kind of your journaling habit. Yeah. I want to remember what I did last Thursday, or what was it last Wednesday, and you can look and see where you went, and it's helpful.
Well, and especially I use that when I need to go back and I've forgotten to diligently track my mileage for submitting expenses. It's a great way to do that, and you also have like the legitimate backup of, well, here's my location on that day and time if anybody cares to question it.
Right. And you can also see kind of when you started using Google Maps. For me, apparently it was September 3rd, 2012.
Oh. Well, there you go.
You can change the timeline view by year. And I went to the office that day.
There you go. I guess I have not peeked back to see that part. I'm gonna try tapping. Wasn't there? Wasn't? It's 2013 for me. So you had me beat.
And the cool thing is, if you use Google Photos, it will show you the photos you took that day.
Yep. Yeah. No. Definitely. I've got that part of it. Looks like October 20th, 2013. I went to the grocery store.
And you needed Google Maps to get to the grocery store? Trying a new grocery store that day or something?
No, it's the route tracking of where I actually physically was, not that I had to look up the map. But it does look like I walked rather than driving based on how long it took me to get there. So
hey, good for
either
you.
that or I drove really slowly. So I have an app I'll kick into the mix.
Okay.
So Joel, on the topic of kind of looking through some different services here, obviously looking at Google Maps, there's another service that I've been using. It's actually an app that Google has recently improved that I think is worthy of chatting about on ProdCast.
Okay.
So the app is called Datally. Are you familiar with Datally?
I'm not.
Okay, so the way I found out about Datally is it is an app that sits on your phone, and what it does is whenever you're on a mobile network, mobile data network, it will effectively meter that mobile data network for you, and you can see which apps are using data either in the foreground or in the background. And additionally, you can choose to put a complete block on them using background data. And where that came to the forefront for me was I was surprised to see, like, I had a lot of I had a lot of data use for a time when I was pretty sure I wasn't using mobile data, or should have been using any meaningful amount of mobile data. And I found there's a dirty little secret of some mobile apps that even if you have the setting turned on not to allow them to use mobile data, for things like going out and hitting an ad network in the background, they can still get out through on that connection and use your mobile data connection, even if you have explicitly not allowed that elsewhere on the phone. Mm-hmm. So where Datally comes in is, you get an audit of that, of what's actually using that data, and B, you get a way to physically restrict those apps from being able to get out over a mobile connection. And then you can optionally enable it if it's like, I want it to do this right now because I'm not on a Wi-Fi network and I need to use the app. But it just gives a much higher degree of control.
So that would be specifically when you're on your mobile network to make sure to monitor your data usage?
Yeah, exactly. And as an example, the podcast app that I use for listening to podcasts, I had no idea, but it was using a gigabyte a month of background mobile data serving up ads to me. A gigabyte per month. And now I had in the app, everything that I downloaded was 100% on my wireless network. I was never downloading an actual recording when I was on the mobile network. It was all ads in the background, and I reached out to the app developer, and he was talking about it being some sort of bug for the version of operating system I have, and I'll buy it. I don't know if it was legit or not, but he gave me a workaround to basically block that app from using background data in that same way. But when Datally came along, not only could I physically restrict that background data for the app, but I also got to see just how much background data it was. And sure enough, like it was that app that was the bad actor, if you will.
Wow. Yeah. I think I had on iPhone, I had used an app called Disconnect Privacy Pro that was basically, it would create a VPN on the device and would you could turn off trackers like ad blockers and things like that, and it was saving like 10 megabytes per second or something like that. Some crazy number like that.
Yeah, well, and effectively, I mean, that's what Datally does as an app, is it creates that local VPN and tunnels all of the app traffic through it, which is where it gets that control. So it's the same principle.
That's interesting. Have you tried the Google Podcast app yet?
I have not. Have you?
I couldn't get it to run on my phone, actually.
Come on, you're using the flagship. You got Pixel 2,
I got it to install, but then I couldn't get it to run. It like errors out every time I run it.
Yeah, no, it's on my list of things to check out. Definitely it's been in the conversation around me. I've seen a bunch of articles that I haven't really clicked through because, funny, I've had something else going on the last few weeks.
Right.
But
I've actually, for podcasts, I've been using some of the streaming apps like Spotify or Stitcher more than downloading podcasts. Just because, there's usually I have a connection and I can get them and they work pretty well.
Well, and, I have for so long used the Podcast Addict app, and I have, it curated well. It has, kind of my history. I've got a good kind of workflow that involves how I'm getting those, how I can like set the order So I have my queue of those set up, and it'll just go through it. It works really well for me. And the kind of unproductiveness of changing right now, or changing whether it to the Google Podcast app or to something like the Spotify app, which frankly doesn't have all of the podcasts that I listen to, because they have more stringent criteria in what can actually be submitted there. I haven't made the jump.
I just tried it again, and it worked for me this time. It looks pretty good, and we're on it, so
sweet.
It's good. Implement this, CRM Audio.
Yeah. No, I mean, certainly for all the, for Android, formerly Android Play, or Play Music, and that Android podcast network, submitting stuff there is easy. It's Spotify that I'm more frustrated with there. If you're not hosting on Libsyn or Blueberry or one of those, primary, data storage locations, they won't actually let you submit your podcast to it, which I do some roll my own. I've got my own kind of statistic tracking that I'm doing with based on putting a special URL in front of the download to get some of that information without having to go through and count on Libsyn or one of those primary providers to do it for a low monthly fee. I've got the control. I've got it on my own, and it's also the nice price of free. But it keeps me from being able to submit to Spotify, the jerks.
Are you listening, Spotify? Help Matthew out.
Please do. It's a legitimate podcast, even though it's not on Libsyn, guys.
All right. Anything else?
I think that does it for me now.
So we have home. We have how to be productive while you're at home, how to clean up your OneNote notebooks, how to see where you've been, and how to control your data on mobile networks. That's pretty good.
All righty. Touch them all.
All right. Thanks.
Stay productive, Joel.
Stay productive, Matthew. This has been ProdCast, the personal productivity podcast from CRM Audio with Matthew C. Anderson and Joel Lindstrom. Follow Matthew on Twitter at @MCAnderson or on his blog, connectingthedata.com. Follow Joel Lindstrom on Twitter at Joel Lindstrom. ProdCast and the rest of the CRM Audio Network are available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and anywhere else fine podcasts are available. This podcast is a production of Dynamic Podcasts, LLC.